Have you ever found yourself smiling with a light heart, feeling those pleasant butterflies in your stomach, even after 60? Maybe it was a pleasant conversation, an unexpected invitation, or just that look that made you feel truly seen. Love, my friend, doesn't have a set time to knock on the door. It arrives when it arrives, and often it arrives just when we thought this chapter was over. But then comes the part no one tells you in senior year fairy tales: the family's reaction. You share the news with your children, grandchildren, that sibling or longtime friend, and instead of celebration, what you're met with are suspicious looks, half-spoken phrases, and awkward silences. And then you might think, am I wrong to want to live this now? Am I being selfish? Or even worse, you start hiding your happiness so as not to bother anyone. Today, I want to talk to you about just that, about why family, even wanting the best for us, sometimes reacts badly when we decide to love again. And most importantly, I want us to talk about how to move forward with ease, respect, and above all, courage. Because if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that repressed happiness isn't good for anyone. Not you, not those who love you. When we talk about love after 60, it seems people forget that this feeling has no expiration date. As if falling in love, desiring companionship, or dreaming of someone by your side were something for young people. But it's not. Love is a human impulse. It doesn't matter if you have wrinkles on your face or gray hair. The heart continues to feel, and with even more wisdom. But for those around you, especially your children, grandchildren, or siblings, this new beginning can feel strange. Often they don't know how to handle it. And it's not because they don't love you. It's precisely because they love you that they feel afraid. Afraid of you getting hurt. Afraid that someone will get close just for their own gain. Afraid of losing their place in your life. And this fear, when left unaddressed, turns into resistance. It turns into criticism. It turns into judgment. Have you ever noticed how people sometimes confuse care with control? They think they're protecting, but in reality, they're preventing the other person from living. Of course, things aren't always easy. There are cases where the family truly feels jealous or fears changes in relationships, finances, or plans, especially when someone new enters the picture. A new love shakes up the structure of routines, inheritances, and family Sundays. But look, is the solution to stop experiencing this love? Is it really true that to keep everything calm and predictable, we must give up our own happiness? Life after 60 brings with it a wonderful freedom. We've already fulfilled so many roles as parents, workers, caregivers, and now this time that's emerging is in part a gift. It's the moment when we can finally listen to ourselves more, allow ourselves more. But it's also a time when many people feel insecure, needy, or even guilty for wanting something new, especially when it clashes with other people's expectations. One case that struck me was that of Selena, a 72-year-old woman who was widowed at 64 after a long and loving marriage. For years, she devoted herself entirely to her grandchildren and family life. One day, she met Paulo on an outing. The two began talking and exchanging messages until they decided to see each other more often. The joy on her face was palpable, but when she told her children, one of them said, "You're needy, Mom. This will pass." The other said, "What does this man want? Is he already wanting to come live here?" The pain she felt wasn't just from the lack of support. It was from realizing that in the eyes of her own children, she was no longer a whole woman. She was just the mother, the grandmother, the widow. This happens much more often than it seems. We acquire roles throughout life: mother, father, professional, caregiver. And little by little, these roles erase our most intimate, most human side. But you haven't stopped being a complete being just because you're over 60. Your right to love, to make mistakes, to try, to be happy is still there, whole. Of course, it's important to listen to those around you. Dialogue is essential. But it's important to remember that love isn't something that needs to be approved by anyone. It needs to be lived responsibly, consciously, and above all, truthfully. Often, what's missing is precisely this open conversation with the family. Instead of reacting with anger or sadness when faced with resistance, try to open a space to listen. Say something like, "I understand that you're worried, but this is doing me good. I feel alive. I feel a sparkle in my eyes again." And then, you know what might happen? Little by little, with time, with patience, they'll also notice that your smile is lighter, that your energy has changed,
That you're okay. And that, deep down, is what everyone wants. Of course, acceptance won't always come immediately. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it requires us to reaffirm our feelings without fighting, but firmly. And you know what? Sometimes the most important path is to respect yourself first. When you treat yourself with respect, with affection, with firmness, others begin to understand that there's a whole person there who knows what they want and who deserves to be happy. Shall we continue this conversation? Because there's still a lot worth thinking about together. The other day, talking to a dear friend, she said something that stuck with me. I don't want to spend the rest of my life just pleasing. I want to live truthfully. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. After 60, time takes on a new flavor. It stops being a hurried countdown and becomes a choice. Every morning you wake up feeling energetic. Every late afternoon spent in good company. Every pleasant conversation. All of this is immensely valuable. And when love enters the picture, it's not a distraction or a random adventure. It's often a new beginning. But families don't always understand that this new beginning isn't a rupture with everything that existed before. Loving again doesn't mean abandoning children, forgetting grandchildren, or turning your back on the bonds built over a lifetime. Quite the opposite. Those who love again often become even more generous. Their hearts become more open, more willing to care for themselves and others. But some people get things mixed up. They think that by loving again, they'll forget who came before, as if the heart were a drawer that only holds one thing at a time. When in reality, it's more like a garden. The more love we cultivate, the more space appears. Maybe you've experienced this before, feeling like you have to choose between your happiness and family peace, that you need to hide the sparkle in your eyes, or hide your plans with that new person who's appeared in your life. This is much more common than we think. And do you know why? Because there's an old, almost invisible idea that older people no longer need love, that they've already passed that stage. As if our love life were a window that closes when we blow out the candles on a certain birthday cake. But I ask you, is there a right age to miss a hug, to laugh with someone, to receive a message saying, "Good morning, did you sleep well?" Is there an expiration date for feeling loved? Of course not. Affection is essential at any stage of life. And when it arrives after a long journey with loss, grief, separations, and pain, it becomes even more valuable. Sometimes, what a family needs to see is this: to understand that you're not looking for an illusion. You're looking for presence, for companionship, for someone to share the little things with. That trip to the supermarket that turns into an outing, the soap opera that sparks conversation at the end of the day, the coffee after a walk. These seemingly insignificant details are the ones we miss most when we're alone, and they're also the ones that most strengthen a new love. But family resistance often stems from fear of the unknown, of losing your place, of being changed, or deep down from the idea that it's not time for this anymore. That's where the importance of honest conversation comes in. Not a conversation to ask for permission. You don't need that.
but a conversation to share. To say, this new feeling has been good for me, and I'd like you to see this new side of my life. And remember, you don't need to convince anyone. It's not about over-explaining. It's about speaking calmly and affectionately. Because when we speak with an open heart, without demands, without arguments, only with the truth, something opens up in the other person too. I remember Jorge, a 68-year-old man who started dating after many years as a widower. When he told his children, they reacted coldly, even sarcastically. He was hurt, but instead of walking away, he did something simple. He invited his children to lunch, cooked each of their favorite dishes, and halfway through said, "I wanted you to know that I'm happy, and I'd like you to meet the person who's making me smile again." He didn't force anything. He didn't beg for approval. He just reached out. Little by little, things changed. Because what his children feared most, that he was being deceived or that he would isolate himself from the family, didn't happen. On the contrary, he was more present, more lively, more affectionate with his grandchildren. Because love, when it's good, overflows into all areas of life. Of course, every story is unique. Not everyone has receptive children. Sometimes the resistance is truly strong. But what you need to remember is, your life is yours, and so is your heart. Many people spend their entire lives trying to earn the approval of others.
But after a certain age, we learn that it's better to be at peace with ourselves than to please those who will never be satisfied. And you know what? Sometimes all a family needs is time. Time to digest. Time to see that you're still you. That this new love didn't take anyone's place. Just fill a space that's been empty for a long time. And if this time is accompanied by small actions, a gesture of affection, an invitation to spend time together, a genuine listening session, it can transform resistance into acceptance. But if he doesn't come, you still have the right to follow. Gently, yes, respectfully, of course, but firmly too. Because love after 60 isn't a luxury, it's a legitimate necessity. A possible joy, a rebirth that should be celebrated, not hidden. Shall we continue this conversation? Because there's still so much more we're thinking about together. Have you ever noticed how common it is for people to say that after a certain age, we should be content with the company of our children, our grandchildren, our memories? As if love were a gift only given to the young, and we were merely guardians of the past. But look, who decided this? Who said that after 60, 70, we have to give up feeling butterflies in our stomach, exchanging lingering glances, having someone to share bread and butter with on a late afternoon? If there's one thing this phase of life teaches us, it's that time is too valuable to be wasted in fear, guilt, or trying to fit into molds that no longer serve us. We've been through so much, faced losses, new beginnings, challenges, and we're still here, with our hearts beating, with new stories waiting to be born. Finding love after 60 isn't a whim, it's a celebration of life. It's a way of saying, I'm still whole, I'm still complete, I still have dreams, desires, and joys to live. And if your family, for whatever reason, doesn't understand this right away, that's okay. They have their own time. But you don't have to stop your journey because of it. Yes, you can experience this love lightly, calmly, and with attentive eyes. You can set clear boundaries. You can maintain your children's and grandchildren's space. You can continue to be that safe haven. And at the same time, you can make room for something new. A new smile, a new affection, a new story. It's like when we move the furniture around in our house. At first, everyone feels strange. It seems wrong. But then, over time, everyone realizes it's even more cozy. Love, when it enters with respect and sweetness,
doesn't take up anyone's space. It adds value. Sometimes all it takes is for you to live it truthfully, without hiding, without apologizing, without sacrificing yourself. Because when your family sees that love is good for you, that you're more alive, more present, more at peace, something changes. It might not change overnight, but it does change. And if it doesn't change, you still have the right to move forward. With courage, with dignity, with the certainty that you're doing what's best for you, and that, deep down, is what also inspires those around you. There's nothing more powerful than seeing someone living their own truth, without fear of judgment, without shrinking to fit anyone's gaze. So if you're living this moment, or if you still dream of living it, know that you're not alone, and you're not making mistakes. You're being human. You're being whole. You're being true. And look, maybe you're there on the other side of the screen with a heavy heart because your family still doesn't understand. Or maybe you're smiling thinking about the last time you received that unexpected message, that invitation to walk hand in hand. Whatever your situation, I want to tell you, keep going. With patience, with gentleness, but keep going. You deserve to live everything that can still make you happy. And if this conversation touched your heart in any way, if it helped you see your story more clearly, or gave you that courage you were missing, then I invite you to continue with us. Subscribe to the channel here. That way you won't miss any future videos, and it'll be easier to continue this wonderful exchange we have here. Like this video if it spoke to you. It shows me we're on the right track and helps this content reach more people like you who also need to hear that it's not too late, that it's never too late. And if you'd like, and I'd love to, share this video with someone special. It could be a friend, a relative, or someone going through a similar situation. Sometimes a simple conversation like this can change someone's day or even their life. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been through this? Are you experiencing a new love? Did your family understand right away, or was there resistance? Or are you still waiting to find the courage to live this story? I'd love to read your story. This is a welcoming space, without judgment, just listening and empathy. Life after 60 isn't the end of the book. It's a new chapter, and you have every right to write that chapter your way, with your own colors, with your own truth. Because the heart has no age. And love is always welcome.